All right, guys, we are back. Today, this is a video by Iman Gazdi. Super cool dude. He's like 23 years old. He's, made a lot of money. I think he has a lot of insight. Without further ado, let's get to it. And just so you guys don't know, my name is Fortino. So let's get it.
All right, listen to me very closely because life for the top 1% of men is better than it has ever been. And for the other 99% of men, it is more depressing than it has ever been. Because you see, contrary to what they tell you in the media, life for a man is actually quite hard. It's a video game where you start right at the beginning at level 0, and every single day you have to work to level up. You see, because if you don't, some other guy will, and that guy will take the money that could have been yours, the life that could have been yours, and this is going to be very, very, very difficult for you to hear right now, but even the wife that could have been yours. And I really want you to let that sink in. I want you to imagine right now your dream woman. What does she look like? How does she carry herself? What kind of an incredible mother is she to your future children? You have that image in your mind? Okay, cool. Now I want you to imagine her with another guy. Make it graphic, make it sting, make it hurt. Because second, I'm going to share with you guys 5 things in this video, and all 5 need to be true for you to call yourself a high value man. This is not easy. This is not a thing that you're going to get done in the next 3 weeks or 6 months. This is a commitment. But what other option do you have? Now, the first step in order to become a high...
Something I want to say real quick is I feel like he's right. One day you are going to be, like I said, I'm 25. One day I'm going to be 30. I feel like I've always thought it was going to be like one day I'm going to just wake up and then bam, everything I ever wanted and dreamed of is just going to happen. It's very much every day you got to wake up. Every day you have to take that 1 foot forward to get just a little bit closer. And the further I get into it, the more I realize it's just a journey. It's not the destination, I feel like you appreciate it more when you realize that there is, in a sense, no rush, but in a different sense, but in the same sense, there is a rush to get there as fast as you can.
The first step is you need to remove any crutches. Let me make something clear. You should be rich. You should have a good body. You should have abundance with women. But if you use those as crutches, well, then you simply can't be high value. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been uploading publicly on YouTube for 7 years. You can go back to me at 15 years old when I was doing all the things right.
That's the cool thing about this guy is like, that's kind of, I wouldn't say I did this after him, but it would be cool to have a similar journey. Like how he said, he was 15, 16 doing this, and now he's 23, and now, you could see the fruits of his labors paying off, and I think that's a very cool thing. And if I could keep this YouTube thing up, maybe you could also see me, by the time I'm 30, you could see me achieve some life achievements. So that should be cool, but again, only if I stick with it.
And I only felt high value maybe 2 years ago, 18 months ago. I mean, imagine that. I was 19 years old and here I was, multi-millionaire, the girls, the travel, the good body, social status, everything, you name it. And you do all these things that from the outside make you look like the man, but then you actually need to become that guy. And you will know.
You don't win on the outside and then you feel better. I feel like feeling high value, I'm not saying I am, but I definitely feel more self-confident now than I did back then. I feel like you have to build evidence for yourself so that you believe you are the man, right? You need to adopt this kind of mindset where, how can I be the man if I don't believe I am, right? People think, oh, let me just get the money, let me just get the flash, the pizzazz, and then I should feel better about myself, right? And I feel like that's what I used to think too when I was younger, but now it's more so that I'm just more sure about myself, right? I could have $0 in my bank account right now, but I feel the skills I've learned along the way, the experiences I've had since then, they mean more to me than any amount of money. Don't think you need money or, material stuff to be considered higher value. It's definitely a journey that you will take and realize for yourself. You have to convince yourself more than anyone else.
In order to become a high value man, you must reimagine the timeline. You see, most of you guys think that you're going to become a high value man within 1 or 2 years, and it's simply not going to happen. I've never seen it happen in less than 5 years.
That's true. I was really young, I think 18, 19, and I was thinking, by the time I'm 25, which I'm 25 now, I have to be that guy, right? And I think having that expectation for yourself, it's not bad entirely, but you set yourself up for failure. I feel like I wouldn't, as much as I wish I was more successful early on, I feel like I wouldn't change anything so far, or if looking back at it if I could, because I feel like everything I've learned along the way is so much more valuable than any amount of money that I could have made in the same amount of time.
There's so much internal work that goes along with it. For me, it took 7 years from the age of 14 when I really started my self-development journey all the way up until basically my 21st birthday. That's really where I started to feel like, okay, I don't feel like I have anything to prove. I feel like a high value man.
I like how you said that, because I think that's what it is. When you're younger, I feel like you have this, maybe I'm just speaking for guys or maybe even just myself, but you have this thing where you want to show everyone that you are that guy. But like I said, I think the biggest thing is you have to prove it to yourself. You kind of have this aura, this aroma that you think you are, so you kind of do become it, versus you're playing it, you're faking it. You know what I mean? It's a subtle difference, but it's different.
And it's very hard to explain, but you just look in a guy's eye. It's the demeanor, it's the way he carries himself, how self-assured he is. It's just...
You could tell when someone's faking it. The way they walk, the way they talk, the things they talk about. It's funny, I had this friend back in the day who, he was coming out of the shell a little bit, and he was trying to be more confident, more outgoing, and it's not throwing dirt at him, right? But I feel like you could just see that it wasn't genuine. It wasn't authentic. I hope he's doing better now. But you don't want to overdo it. You know what I mean?
There's no such thing as passive income. Don't let anyone tell you that, oh, it's just passive income. You just set it and forget it. No, everything breaks down.
He said something about passive income, and I think he's right, but he's right to certain people. There was this Alex Hormozy video, which is, I'll probably react to him more throughout this journey, but he talked about how when you're beginning, any advice is good advice, because you have nothing else. But once you keep progressing, you kind of have to be a little bit more picky about the advice you take, because certain things just are not going to apply to you. It might sound like good in practice, but in theory it might not be the best thing for you at the moment. Once you have a few years under your belt, I'll feel like you'll realize more about what he's talking about and agree with it more down the line versus right now.
And without going into too much detail here, just having a very difficult upbringing to deal with, and just going through and seeing a lot of things that just made me very angry and upset at the world at a very young age. So there's certain adversity, there's certain challenges that just force certain people to step up. And unfortunately,
I like that, because I think he's very right about that. There's two people. Person A, he starts a business, and he right away, early success, and person B starts a business and he has a lot of struggles, right? So early success is great, but it can also be a detriment, versus early struggles, you might think it's a bad thing, but it could be one of your best assets is struggling. And that's in business. He's kind of referring more to so in life. And I feel like that's also another great motivator. That's almost always like a prerequisite. Use that pain, use that trauma to propel you. And I feel like sometimes that's the only way to get more out of life. If you've always had a comfortable life, as good as that sounds, I feel like you just don't have that drive to push further, to want more than you had before, The thing
is, 80% of the time when men are put through that, they don't step up. They don't pull up their boots and become the person they need to become to face the challenges. And that's just the unfortunate nature of the world. But you simply cannot be a high-value man without putting yourself through the fire. Or you may have just generally had a very cushy life in general. Well, that's fine as long as you force adversity and hardship on yourself.
He's right there too. Anytime I'm in a bad situation or in a situation I don't want to be in, like something goes wrong, and instead of thinking, look, fuck, now, there's issues, I need to stress out, yada, yada, yada. I mean, I do think that, but I get over it very quick, and I think, all right, this is good, because this is another skill, another asset that is going to come out of this because of the hardship. So anytime you go through a bad time, always try to put that in your head. This is actually a good thing, even though it might seem like a bad thing.
Oh, it never went away, and the only thing I could think about for 3 weeks straight, from morning to night, was how I was going to delete myself. And
big difference between thinking about it and thinking about how you're going to do it.
That's also important that you brought that up, because I know a lot of guys go through this kind of what he's talking about. I guess I should just let him keep talking.
Like over the past 2-3 weeks, I keep waking up with this crippling anxiety.
I had to put myself through something difficult to go, you can get through anything. If you can get through that, you can get through anything. So if you grew up with an amazing...
It's funny because that's kind of the motivation I use whenever I'm working out. For example, I'll do push-ups, and there's some days where it's just I just can't get myself to do it. Then I start doing it thinking my forward thoughts would be, you're tired, just give up, you're not gonna do it. But then in the back of my head, I'm thinking, wait, I've done this before 1,000,000 times at this point. So why do I have this self-doubt when I know I can do this? Looking back at all the hard times I've had, in the moment it sucks, but looking back at it and seeing that I've made it through, it's always, you don't wish to change them. The worst times of my life, in the moment I'm thinking, I wish I wasn't here, I wish this never happened, but looking back at it, I wouldn't have changed any of the struggles I've been through because I've always learned something. All right, guys, we are back.
But you have to put yourself through the fire. You have to find a way. And it's funny, after I ran my marathon in 2021 and 2022, I had my 2 biggest years. When it comes to every aspect of my life, I really leveled up the last 2 years. But now I feel like I'm starting to get a little soft again, which is why next year I'm dedicating myself to boxing.
So what's interesting is you think you get to a point where you can rest, but in reality, I feel like it's better to not. Weekends, I just don't feel, not to the severity that he was at, but I feel pretty low. All right, we all go through it. Something that helped a lot is just keep going to the gym, even on the weekends. Just keeping yourself busy, keep challenging yourself, even the days you should be resting. I think that's important. It's more so good for your mind than your body at that point.
The last thing that you need in order to become a high-value man is a strong network. And out of all the things that I listed, I'd say this is the least important and the last piece of the puzzle. And when I pop my head up, the people that I used to look up to or respect, rather than me trying to network with them, they're going to reach out to me, or we're going to get introduced as peers, as equals. And that...
I have a funny story that kind of relates to that. Not the same level as he can, but there was a point where I wish I was more accepted by a certain group of people, and then I just kept working on myself, kind of how he's talking about. Then all of a sudden I was accepted by them, but it was like, did I even need it, you know?
And I buy a bunch of expensive stuff and I live a great life, but I don't think that makes me the man. It's the 5 things that I talked about here that really makes you a top 1% man. Now, these are the 5 things, but in order to accomplish them, you need good habits.
Well, what do you guys think? He's mentioned a lot of good points. It might not be applicable to everybody, but you know, everyone should strive to be more valuable, women and men, right? We don't discriminate. But yeah, guys, this is the type of stuff I like to watch. Right? I want to put this out. I want you to think a certain way. I don't want you to think of me a certain way. I want you to think a certain way. So that's that. Take it easy.